Alrighty, Paul from Rotec here. This is an interesting one. Got ourselves a little Pioneer 300, all wooden aeroplane with retracts. They're a slick little machine. Anyway, it's got a 3300 jab, which we've just restored the propeller. Well, actually, we've supplied him a new propeller. Had a Jabiru 3300 prop that I reconditioned for him and got him going. The customer that owns this plane, John, has been helping us out in the workshop, so it's not exactly a favour, but it pretty much is a favour. But anyway, so I balanced up the prop, put it on, and ran his engine. We actually have done some work on this engine in the past. We did a top end overhaul on it and also fitted the ignition, and it was running pretty well. But it's come back in here for the prop, and I've just pushed it outside to run it, and it's running perfectly up until about 2500 static, and then it starts to shake like it's got a miss, but it didn't feel like ignition. There's no signs of any ignition problems pushing up through the throttle. So I thought, So then I looked at what John had done for the carburetor, and he had this installed, and these are not always optimal. You know, that sharp right angle bend can cause problems. So I decided I'd remove it. Now what I did is, there's the carburetor in there, you can see. What my plan was is to just drop this out of the way and give it a quick run without anything connected, to see if that this ducting was causing any air disturbance, which is quite common on Bings and any carburetor really. Even our TBI doesn't like disturbed air coming in. So I thought, well, I'll give that a shot. And when I popped this hose clamp off here where my pinky is, the whole thing fell out, so it wasn't really clamped well up at the air box there, so it fell out, and just as well it did, because when I looked in there with one of my colleagues, Jeff Higgins, who brought it to my attention, he was holding it while I went to run it. I don't know if you can see it. Where's the sun? Try and get some light on there. There it is. Look at that flap hanging in there. Look at that flap. Now that flap is taut, so something has actually, piece of it's sort of rolled in from the scat tube and is interfering with the airflow. In fact, it's almost blocked nearly half of it off. Now that flap there is quite taut. It's quite rigid, so that ain't good. So then we thought, well, that's highly probable to be the cause, and sure enough, with this removed, we fired it up and it runs like a dream all the way to full power. So yeah, isn't that interesting? What a killer. That's all it is. So we'll be able to smooth that out, fix that with a proper pipe, and we'll be laughing. Unbelievable. There you go. Things to look out for. So, right, let's work on a solution, better airflow. Now back in the workshop, so you can see that flap there. See that horrendous flap there that's been interfering with the airflow. Classic experimental botch up. So we'll see how we go retaining this, and we'll test run it with something more like that in there. I've got some other bits and pieces I can use as well. So we'll see how that goes, but this is looking promising. So maybe if I just do a nice connection there and get rid of that flap there, we'll be cooking with gas. Now I've got a carburetor here that's actually off a Gen 4 Jabiru. This is the Chinese knockoff. It's not a Bing knockoff really, but it's a Chinese carburetor. Oh, I'm not saying they don't work, they work quite well. We recently replaced one of these for a Bing carburetor, which is our preference. And so I've got this at my disposal. But what I found interesting was that at Jabiru, they're putting these 3D printed airflow straightener and the lead up to the air intake there. This is the engine side, and this is the air cleaner side. So yeah, this is all from the factory, that 3D printed part there, which is holding that tube. And yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Now something like that, we've seen them used on our TBIs to help straighten the airflow. Obviously, that's what it's designed to do. And it possibly could even be in order on the Bing carburetor. So we'll keep an eye on that. But for now, let's replace all this with something smoother and less, well, with no flap, let's be frank, and see if that sorts out the problem. I expect it will.